I am blessed of the Lord, His hand is mighty upon me, and no weapon fashioned against me, they shall never prosper. I am blessed of the Lord, His hand is mighty upon me, and no weapon fashioned against me, they shall never prosper. Praying child, godly children we are, never defeated, always winning, we're living in fear of God. Praying child, godly children we are, never defeated, always winning, we're living in fear of God. Like the holy plan, round about your table, children are the heritage of God. I am seeking first the kingdom of God, cause I am a praying child. I gotta pray just to I am a praying child. I am a praying child. I am a praying child. Yes, I have to pray. I am a praying child. Yes, I have to pray. I am a praying child. Jesus got my heart. I am a praying child. I am blessed of the Lord, His hand is mighty upon me, and no weapon fashioned against me, they shall never prosper. I am blessed of the Lord, His hand is mighty upon me, and no weapon fashioned against me, they shall never prosper. Praying child, godly children we are, never defeated, always winning, we're living in fear of God. Praying child, godly children we are, never defeated, always winning, we're living in fear of God. Like the holy plan, round about your table, children are the heritage of God. I am seeking first the kingdom of God, cause I am a praying child. I gotta pray just to I am a praying child. I am a praying child. I am a praying child. Yes, I have to pray. I am a praying child. Yes, I have to pray. I am a praying child. Jesus got my heart. I am a praying child. I am blessed of the Lord, His hand is mighty upon me, and no weapon fashioned against me, they shall never prosper. I am blessed of the Lord, His hand is mighty upon me, and no weapon fashioned against me, they shall never prosper. Praying child, godly children we are, never defeated, always winning, we're living in fear of God. Praying child, godly children we are, never defeated, always winning, we're living in fear of God. Like the holy plan, round about your table, children are the heritage of God. I am seeking first I am a preacher. I gotta pray just to make it today. A preacher. I am a preacher. Whether I am black or white, I am a preacher. Yes, I have to pray. I am a preacher. Yes, I have to pray. I am a preacher. Jesus got my I am a preacher. I am blessed of the Lord, His hand is mighty upon me, and no weapon fashioned against me, they shall never prosper. I am blessed of the Lord, His hand is mighty upon me, and no weapon fashioned against me, they shall never prosper. Praying child, godly children behind, never defeated, always winning, we're living in fear of God. Praying child, godly children behind, never defeated, always winning, we're living in fear of God. Like the holy plan, round about your table, children are the heritage of God. I am seeking first the kingdom of God, cause I am a preacher. I gotta pray just to make it today. A preacher. I am a preacher. Whether I am black or white, I am a preacher. Yes, I have to pray. I am a preacher. Yes, I have to pray. I am a preacher. Jesus got my I am a preacher. I am blessed of the Lord, His hand is mighty upon me, and no weapon fashioned against me, they shall never prosper. I am blessed of the Lord, His hand is mighty upon me, and no weapon fashioned against me, they shall never prosper. Praying child, godly children behind, never defeated, always winning, we're living in fear of God. Praying child, godly children behind, never defeated, always winning, we're living in fear of God. Like the holy plan, round about your table, children are the heritage of God. I am seeking first the kingdom of God, cause I am a preacher. I gotta pray just to make it today. A preacher. I am a preacher. Whether I am black or white, I am a preacher. Yes, I have to pray. I am a preacher. Yes, I have to pray. I am a preacher. Jesus got my I am a preacher.
Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. Good evening, good morning, good afternoon. God bless you. Welcome, welcome, welcome to Daily Prayer for Our Children. Wherever it is that you are joining us from, as always, I like to welcome you in the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Especially if you are meeting us for the very first time. Today is a special day. sorry, whoever is there, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. God bless you. Hope you're well. Hope the family is well. Hope everybody is well. It's the beginning of another week. It's a Monday. Well, beginning for some. Some people believe that the week starts on a Sunday. Some of us, the working week starts on the Monday. Whatever day your week starts, I hope you have started well. I hope you're well. I hope the family is well. And we are in for some fun time today, acquiring some professional and expert knowledge in the area of mental health. Wherever you are joining, whether you're on Facebook or you are on YouTube right now, we are going to be talking about our children and young people and mental health, because today is World Mental Health Day. World Mental Health Day. So we want to talk about the health of our children and our young adult. Now, I've made it a point of duty throughout the day to be posting out all these things so that hopefully I can create enough awareness, even if it's just for this one day in a year. So whoever comes to Praying Child on any of the platform today, what you're going to be hearing is Mental Health Day. And I remember many years ago when I used to do a monthly program with a consultant psychiatrist. One of the things I took away was that there is no health without mental health. And I'm sure the young lady that we've got in the house as well today is going to be telling us more about you can't have one without the other. For some reason, this screen likes this one, but that's not what I want. So please, can you give me this one? Excellent. That's brilliant. This is what I want. Okay, so it's World Mental Health Day. I don't know now why I'm now struggling to get it across, but this is the day. And like I said, I have somebody in the house. She's not a stranger to any one of us. So I'm going to bring her on board. And we're going to talk about young people and mental health. The aim, the goal is to help. In fact, I think that's one of the requirement. I say requirement. That's one of the awareness that they are trying to draw to mental health by creating this day, so that everybody can get on board and mental health can become something that it's familiar. It's, lack of a better word, it's just as a common to us as it is to talk about headache or a pain in any part of our body, or we are hurting anywhere in our body. That's the whole idea, is to, short of a better word again, to normalize. I'm not sure if I'm using all the right word, but the whole, like, because when you hear, normalize mental health, you're probably thinking something else. But the whole idea is bring awareness that we don't have a stigma. We don't have a stigma around mental health. And as always, my area is about the children. That mental health exists, it's real, and we're going to be having that discussion. And I want everybody to get involved, because right now, in your house, in your home, in your family, in your place of work, in your school, there could be a lot of young people that are going through mental challenges. And especially within the minor ethnic community, we are of the opinion, no, I'm not sure it's the opinion. We have the stigma. We're very opinionated about mental health and the stigma that comes with it. So we are in denial as to mental health realities. or and as such, I believe we don't reach out for help when we can reach out for help. Now, one of the things that I came across as I was preparing was I saw that a high percentage of young people are actually going through this kind of an experience. And if the proportion is this high, it's getting me thinking, then we that we're burying our head in the sand, then we are ignoring a huge problem that is presently probably living with us, or is knocking on our door, or is in our immediate community or family, and yet we are pretending that it doesn't exist, and it does. So I hope all is being shown and is going well on your side, because my screen is doing a lot of flickering. Okay, I've got the thumbs up that everything is working well. Okay, just wanted to make sure, because I don't want to keep talking, especially if you guys are not hearing me anymore. So, like I said, I am not alone this evening. So I am going to bring on board the young lady that is co-hosting with me on this topic, and I'm so glad that she's such an expert in this area. Uh, I can say she's a profession in the area. Somebody like me, I'm just a layman. So I'm bringing on board the one and the only person that I know as my daughter, and that is Faithful. So everybody, please give a warm welcome to our dear young lady who we haven't seen in ages. Wow, looking very glamorous. So here we are. It's okay for you to smile. It's okay. It's okay. It's absolutely okay. So we're talking about mental health. Faithful, thank you. As always, I'm grateful for your time, and I know you've taken time out of busy schedule to help me out this evening. So want to say thank you for that. So please take it from me. Help us out. I'm sure you heard my introduction that there is so much stigma, especially within the ethnic minority, towards mental health. But I want us to focus predominantly, if we can, on the reality of mental health issues for young people and our children generally.
Okay. But yeah, first things first, thank you for having me on board. Can you hear me okay? Because I know
I'm hearing you.
Okay, fine. Yeah, as I'm thinking about it now, like I'm not really sure where to start, because to be honest, I have to be area of expertise at the moment is very much with adult mental health. One of the things that I've definitely picked up in my line of work is that a lot of the difficulty in these adults stem from childhood. A lot of it, they went through difficult things, and as a result, that has now carried on into adulthood. I've spoken to 60-something-year-olds, 70-something-year-olds, 50-year-olds, and they will tell you, yeah, something happened when I was 5, or I went through this, was what they're still carrying with them. So when it comes to minority ethnic groups, just as my mom's mentioned, because of the stigma about getting mental health support, seek support as adults. So it definitely doesn't happen as children. Be a little bit of a what's the word I'm looking for? Probably a change, like a trend for people to seek help at younger ages. But yeah, I think in being able to seek therapy or seek some form of mental health support, because there's also mental health as a child if it's needed, and I guess there's the aspect of to probably observe the changes in your child as well, maybe, as a say that, like, because I appreciate majority of the people that are watching it aren't actually children, like my mum, so it's probably being able to observe, okay, yeah, what's going on with my child, that they may need support. But yeah, I cannot stress it enough, just like I said, starting off with seeing adults on a day-to-day basis dealing with the difficulties of their child and when they were younger, how important it is that your child does get that necessary. It's absolutely okay for them to do so as well, especially if it's one of those things that, if, like I gave the examples of older adults reflecting on things, that's how it impacted them then and how it's still impacting them now, then at that time, then it's just something that's going to chase them as they go through life anyway. And the younger ages are so important and pivotal in terms of our relationships, of how we cope at work, in terms of just how we manage stress and any. If we're able to deal with it or learn how to deal with it through therapy, mental health support as a child, going into adulthood, you're already prepared and know how to deal with it. In your message, yeah, it has been a long time. I hope you're doing well. So I really can't stress it. Excuse me. I really can't stress it enough that starting probably so much better and so much more. I wouldn't say much more important, because there's stage of your life, but it just, I know that the impact it would have, get that help from those initial stages as opposed to waiting for a later time. Now, I feel like I've gone on a slide, so I don't know if there's anything in particular that you want me to say, or a particular direction I should be going in as I'm going at the moment, or if there's anything you want to add.
No, even as you've said, I mean, it's absolutely, I think the first thing, and I'm going to pick up on what you've said, is even though you are working more with the adult presently, you're letting us know that even the adult that you're working with now, many of what they're experiencing or going through now stem from childhood.
Absolutely.
And that in itself has validated the whole necessity for this kind of discussion that we're having. Because if, like you said, in 50 something, 40 something, 60 something, you are still being affected by something that has happened when you were 7, something that happened when you were 5, something that happened when you were 10. Now, if awareness was there that this child was going through something, and that whatever that child was going through was validated as, yes, you are going through something, and yes, you can have treatment, even though you're 7, even though you're 12, even though you're 20. You wouldn't have those clients, or I don't know whether you call them client or patient, but you wouldn't have them now, because
Yeah,
it would have
absolutely.
been dealt with. And that's exactly what I'm saying, the need for us to have this conversation. Because if I'm blowing the trumpet now that mental health for young people, I was saying earlier, my PowerPoint that I made, what I discovered, he said alarmingly 75%, 75% of children and young people are affected by mental health issues.
Yeah.
That's a huge number. Let's try and put that into perspective. So basically, if we've got 100
Children
adults
or young
and
adults.
children, that's 75 of them.
Yes.
So which means there's a higher propensity that there's somebody in my family, there's somebody in that I know as a child that is going through mental struggles.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you can help us to shed a bit more light on, what could they have done at that stage? And because obviously somebody that is 40, 50, 60 now, the help that is available now is a lot different from what was available 30, 40 years ago, and
Years ago.
access to treatment and all those kind of things. So help us out, going back to, okay, I was 7 when this happened to me. I was feeling like this. Because some of the things that I found in my study was that young people can have depression. Young people
Yes.
can have eating disorder. Young people can have anxiety.
Yeah.
There's the that one where a child is overactive, the HDAD.
ADHD.
Okay,
ADHD,
so
yeah.
there's and there are also. So please just help us out here. I know we can't cover everything, but
Everything, yeah.
is not possible. We can't possibly. Yeah, over to you.
Yeah, so I think what I'll start off with is ADHD would say is, I wouldn't class it as a mental health difficulty.
Okay.
There's been a about neurodivergence, as they would call it. So basically, if I understand where neuro tends to refer to the brain, divergence tends to mean like different. So those that have ADHD, ADD, I'm not entirely sure what that one stands for, but the ADHD has the hyperactivity. I think ADD doesn't have the hyper, as well as I'm trying to think of what other similar ones. Autism, Neurodivergence. So these these is just that is just wired a little differently, and I think, to be honest, I'm glad you mentioned it, because I think there is a lot of that too, as to, if your child does receive this type of diagnosis, or or potentially it's likely that teachers may speak about it or query. But yeah, I would not say that they're mental health difficulties. I would say they're just completely different. Like I said, they're a little different, and that's absolutely fine. There's a lot of support for it, to be honest. If you're having that, your child may be neurodivergent, to because my line of work doesn't really specialize in all of that. But if you are having as your best point of contact to start from, and also just use the resources that are available to you. We've got YouTube, we've got Google. You can. So if you're having any concerns about potentially the development of your child, if there's a lot of hyperactivity, or if you notice that they don't necessarily social cues, or they don't necessarily interact that well in social setting, query that neurodivergence. There's some other symptoms you may notice in your child. Things have a spectrum where some is like a bit more mild and some is a bit more severe, who are not actually verbal at the time of which you may expect them to be verbal. So they're communicating, using words, perhaps. So yeah, those are all things. If there's any of those for your child, your GP is the best place to start research. And I'll also say something, because I've really learned this in my line of work. At the end of the day, your duty of care for you and your children, it is absolutely worth a pressure to make sure that things get done, so that you can get the necessary support, as well as for your child. Because unfortunately, services, so your GP and all of that, they are inundated. So yeah, they might be a bit more, but if you don't apply the pressure, it may not be that the things that you want to take place will take place. And when diagnoses for those neurodivergence, or ADHD, ADD, that usually needs to be done by a separate body, and there are long waits. Sometimes you might hear something like 2 years before you can get an assessment. So there's any of those types of, it's worth putting that pressure and getting the ball rolling as soon as possible, so that the assessment and then find out what's going on and what the appropriate next steps are. So that's neurodivergent, well versed in that, but I think that's about as much as I know. But yeah, in terms of the mental health difficulties, they are very common, and I think there's so many factors that come into that. I don't think there's a single thing these days that's not being blamed on social media, but absolutely social media is a factor. And there is so many other things that's happened in the last couple of years as well. So COVID, economy, and yeah, just so many things that's just last, I don't know, decade maybe, that they just seem to be piling one on top of the other. Difficulties of these things, whether it is the economy crashing, whether it's war, there's Russia and Ukraine, whether it's COVID, has had an impact on the mental well people. A conversation that took place recently in our household was that, okay, we may be of the faith, but even those that aren't of the faith are seriously wondering what is actually going on. We feel that, okay, with climate change and everything, that things are going seriously left. A lot of young hope, for lack of a better word, so they're not optimistic about the future. You know, okay, if I want to, for me, the money that I make from my job is not sufficient for me to do X, Y, and Z. I'm not able, I would like to live. So those types of things can build up and generate, again, factoring social media. If you're finding yourself in a position where financially you can't, and you can't do the things you want to do and buy the things you want to do, but you're seeing other people of the South doing all of those things, then that can really, create depression and symptoms of depression. Your children just don't have the energy to do things anymore. They may just have a lack of interest. They may go from doing really well at school to suddenly their grades just dropping out of nowhere. Factors to it, I think, like I said, just that lack of hope for the future. A lot of people may be in continuing with going on with life because of the way that things are going. That again will just impact their mood. Anxiety also creates all these worries that start to generate for them. So yeah, what's going to happen tomorrow? Uni, am I going to be able to do well in X, Y, and Z? Am I going to be able to, I don't know, purchase? And there's just so many different things that people can find themselves worrying about. For some, it's just concerns about their appearance. Again, going back to social media, because mum does, and there's again a concern about that being on the rise again, because again about that, the image comparisons that people are making. And one of the things that is really worth noting, mental health difficulties, is it's very likely if you experience one, you'll experience. If a child or an adult has an eating disorder, they're very likely to have anxiety, or they'll have it combined together. If somebody feels depressed, they may also. So it's really worth getting that support, because it can very rapidly spiral into other things, get worse when the sufficient support isn't applied. It just they're just not, if they just don't get the help, full stop. And I think it's also really that when it comes to any mental health difficulties, whatever shape or form that might look like, types are out there. Suicidal thoughts can pop up with any one of these as well. And I think that's why it's important to get that support for your child. If there are anything that you are noticing, because I've heard of 7-year-olds trying to end their life. I've heard of letting to harm themselves, or going through a period of harming them. I've heard of parents with children doing this, and I've heard of grown that as a teenager, as a as an adolescent, of 5-year-olds harming themselves. And again, it's about being vigilant, really, around, is there anything you've noticed that's changed about them? Because as much as I've mentioned some, as the word symptoms already, of some of these typical mental health difficulties, sometimes it doesn't necessarily. The best way I can describe it, because I always compare mental health to your physical health, and the same, we should have the same attitudes to both. So for example, when I tend to get like I don't know how to describe it, but it just feels like fire in my sore throat, but it would just feel like yeah, something's burning in my throat. Now somebody else may think way, so maybe I'm catching a cold, they're catching a cold, but they're not going to experience the sneezing continuously and just feeling cold. So it's really worth noting that the symptom child, and what you really just need to look out for is your own child, how they use well, and then yeah, what does the flip side of that look like? So it might be, like I mentioned, school. If they were doing really well in school, all of a sudden they're not doing well. If they went from being telling you about the other day, they're not talking about it anymore. If it was a case of and you're just suddenly being told they've not been doing their homework for X amount of time, yeah, going on, and it's really just worth to have that open and honest conversation, and seeing condescending, patronizing, yeah, just to create that open and honest space for them, because as children they kind of already feel anyway that we still feel as adults. So creating that open space, and I did share a link, remember seeing the advert, I think it was on ITV if I remember.
If you want me to play, I've got it.
Great. Yeah, I'll just briefly explain it. Just really promotes having that conversation, creating that space for them to do that, however long it may take as well. But yeah, the video, I think that'd be quite good.
Okay. Hopefully, let me try and see if I can just bring that video up. And I'm sure some people have already seen that video on TV anyway.
Probably.
Yeah, they should have, because when I read the article, it said that it has had a huge impact. That what they were hoping to accomplish with that advert is to get the conversation going. Is to get communication going. And it looks like, from what they have said, it looks like they have actually accomplished that. And they were talking about millions. So I'm thinking the charity is called Uncommon. So let me try and share that screen with everybody. So which one would best suit? I think this one would be better. So let me do this and see. Okay. I'll just remove both of us. Okay, I've put us at the bottom. I'm going to start it from the beginning again. So I hope they can hear it, because he's got audio.
No, I don't hear anything, do you?
I don't hear anything in my ears either. I don't know why there's no audio. Okay, let me try again. Let me just try again.
Okay, I can hear it now.
All right.
Hey,
Fancy a cuppa?
sure.
Okay, I can hear it.
Grandma says she's
How was the
seen it.
dreaded school?
It was alright.
Fancy a cuppa?
Sure.
Okay, I can hear it.
Fancy a cuppa?
Sure.
There you go.
Grandma says she's
How was the
seen it.
dreaded school?
It was alright. Sure.
What about that girl, Sophie? You spoken to her yet?
No, but swear. It was alright.
So it doesn't bother you?
No, not really.
You spoken to
It
her
was
yet?
alright. No, but swear. Sure.
Okay. So it doesn't bother you?
No,
There you
not really.
Smoking?
No, right. No, but
It doesn't bother you. Okay. So it doesn't bother you. Look, you know you can talk to me, right?
no, not really. No, right.
I'm here. Bother you. Okay. Look, you know you can talk
Actually,
to me,
Dad.
right?
No, not really. It's just that
I'm here. You can talk to me,
Actually, Dad.
right?
Okay. So we're back.
Yeah,
Look,
it seems to be
So
echoing
yes,
though. I like hear
I don't
it
I don't know
again.
why
I
I
don't know if
was
it's gone
doing that.
now.
I didn't do that at the beginning.
I think it's all right now because I'm not hearing any feedback. But yeah, I advert when I saw it the first time actually because I felt like it really needs it to do given how short adverts usually are. It's just really promoting that give that the child to talk, but also I think the most important factor for me, even though the daughter says, "Oh no, it's fine," you see him and you see him kind of say, "Look, if you want to talk, we can talk." And I think that's so that transition for her as well. Like, oh, actually, yeah, he's noticed something is up. This is a space for me to talk. That was a TV advert. It probably might not happen overnight, but continuously remind your child of that space and to let them know that the support. And also, I did mention earlier that you can go to GP for the neurodivergence diagnosis, but the same concerns about your children as well, about their mental well-being. So you can also go to your GP, discuss that with them, and they can provide you with some support. Because, like I said, I'm more familiar with is a children's mental health service as well, and there will be one for just about each county, borough. I don't really know what the language is, but basically wherever you live within one. So referrals can be made so that your child can get that support. So you have on ground support. So just the same way you would see your GP, you can also see within the service as well. So you may not necessarily need an external referral being made. It's worth having that conversation with your GP to see how best you can support your child. So also incorporate the assistance of the school as well. So it's this growing up as a child where my friends would actually be receiving counselling because they were made aware of the child's difficulties. So, and also combined with that when they're doing homework tasks and things like that, so that they're offered that leniency of what's going on with the child, so that obviously they don't get penalised for the fact that they're just struggling with them. So I would definitely say your GP is a good point of contact, and obviously spaces for your children to talk to you about what's going on, because children being bullied whilst they were at secondary school, or that their body doesn't look like their peers' body, and that proceeded to develop or severe depression, or even severe anxiety. Yeah, especially I feel like school is such
An
it's such a
atmosphere for breeding.
it really is. I've heard way too many stories of when I was at school. This is what happened. This is how I was treated. This is what they did to me. And then from to escalate, and things have got worse from there. So I would really say, really be vigilant. Is getting the necessary support from the necessary places, and please, by all means, fight. If it's a case of the teacher is actually what's causing the issue, then conversation with head teachers, head of department, whatever, so that things can be put in. One of the things I say about therapy is as much that mental health support, which is fine and is brilliant if you can, and if you do pursue, the stressor is still there. It's going to be quite difficult in order for you to kind of see in the coping mechanisms that you've learned, if the challenges are still there, if it's still there. So if it is one of those things that, yeah, something's going on at school, then absolutely trying to get on top of that as best as possible so that it doesn't escalate, or it doesn't, in terms of what's going on with the child. But yeah, I don't know to kind of elaborate on.
Yeah, honestly, some of the things that I came across that can actually be a factor that could bring about mental health illness in our children, you've covered quite a few of it, is, even long-term illness.
Yes, that's a good one. Yeah,
long-term illness can erode their confidence.
Absolutely.
The fact that they're transiting from a child to an adult, body changes, hormone changes, all sorts of things. I'm not fitting in, I'm not accepted, and all those kind of things. And I know that some of us parents, we grew up in an environment where, what's wrong with you? Why you just accept who you are, and, all those kind of things. One of the things I found out from the mental health organization website that I went to, they actually said, if we can take care of the mental well-being, let me read how they put it, that if we can take care of the mental wealth of our children from an early age, it will help them to become resilient. It will help them to become, I'm trying to find it and read it as they've said it. They said children's emotional well-being is just as important as their physical health. Good mental health helps them develop the resilience to cope with whatever life throws at them. So, and grow into well-rounded, healthy adults. So, coming from what you've said with working with adults, well, we're not going to have well-rounded, healthy adults if they didn't have a good emotional well-being at a younger age.
Yeah.
So it's almost like a delayed reaction or something you're pushing forward.
Yeah, definitely.
So if we don't tackle the anxiety now, we don't tackle the depression now, we don't tackle the eating disorder now, we don't, if we're brushing it under the carpet and we're saying, oh, just suck it up, just get used to it, it's not a big deal. Do you get what I'm trying to say? You're basically invalidating their emotion. You're saying it's not authentic, that what they're feeling is not authentic. And how can anybody say that somebody's emotion are not authentic? Because they're telling you how they're feeling. Do you know they even said things like, even just moving houses, changing schools, having to make new friends. These are some of the things that they say can cause mental unwellness in a child. Now, like I said, I don't know whether you're frozen. It looks like you're frozen on my screen. Can you still hear me? Wow, it looks like I've lost Faithful. Okay, let's see until I've got Faithful back. Let me put myself back on the screen. Okay, so if we can get you back, Faithful, it looks like we've lost you on the screen. It looks like you're frozen. I'm not sure if you actually know that you are actually frozen as well. So again, like I was saying, okay, grandma said that is true and right, ma, and faithful. Exactly. Thank you, ma. So we need to acknowledge, and that's what we're trying to create here. We're trying to acknowledge that mental health, it's real. And we need to pay attention, and we need to find ways. Okay, I want to go back to some of the risk factors while we're trying to get Faithful back. I don't know what's happened completely to Faithful there, but she's completely frozen. So one of the things they said is long-term illness is a risk factor. Even parents that have mental issues themselves, it can go on to affect the children. So if they have parents who have mental health issues themselves, if they have parents who have alcohol issue themselves, are you back now? It looks like you're back. Okay. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, excellent. So we're back. So I don't know what you heard while you were gone, or if you didn't hear anything at all, but I'm kind of listing some of the things that they said could cause that are risk factors to the
Yes.
mental health of a child, such as long-term illness, parents
Yes.
that are suffering from mental health themselves,
Mental health
parents that
Yep.
have alcohol problems,
and drug issues.
parents that have that in and out of trouble with the law,
Yes.
parents, even the death of somebody that is close to them.
Yes.
And I think that is one of the things that we think people just get over and move over, those kind of things. But bereavement is actually a big thing as well, when a child loses somebody close to them. And then obviously there's the classic, I say classic, but major one, I think, in most homes, the separation or divorce of parents.
Yes.
That has a huge impact on a child's mental well-being. Again, in certain environment, we're thinking the child should get used to it and all that kind of thing. You spoke about the changes, financial changes that's happening all across the globe. You spoke about pandemic, people being locked up, different environment, not as socializing with their friends, seeing people they're used to seeing, being able to hang out with people, even go out. For some people, the inability to be able to go out is a problem for them because they're not used to staying at home. And then obviously there are things like you also said in school, bullying, whether it's physical, and then obviously there is a verbal bullying, all those kind of things, emotional, and then obviously very sad one as well, sexual abuse, both in and out of the home. That's another factor. I remember when I used to do the post on child abuse, I think it's a very high number. I'm not sure, but I'm going to say between 70 and 80% of children that are sexually abused tend to happen with people they already know.
Yes.
They're not total strangers. They are people.
Strangers, no.
So even within the ethnic community, discrimination can cause mental unwellness, being discriminated against, and you're not understanding why, your peers are getting preferential treatment, or they're getting certain things that you can have access to and things like that. And you're wondering, you're experiencing this as a child, or you being, again, I don't know whether, name calling, racial name calling. I think that for me, in my head, that is double whammy, because not only is it bully, it's also discrimination, if you understand what I'm saying, because you can bully somebody of the same ethnicity by calling them names. But now imagine when you're calling them names that you feel that is associated with their ethnicity. So, there's all those kind of things. And then there's also said when children have to look after somebody else, when
Yes, that's a
when roles like
yeah,
kind
a
of
really
swap
important one.
through,
They become
yeah,
carers,
through,
basically.
yeah, they, thank you, become carers, have to take adult responsibility, so they're having to grow up faster, having to do things. They can't go out and play like their
Yes.
other friends and all those kind of things, and then obviously, who even knows, academically in school, maybe you have dyslexia, it wasn't picked up quickly, you're falling behind, and so this stigma is coming. I'm not smart, I'm not good enough, but meanwhile you've actually got a condition that's not being diagnosed. And I hope you understand what it is I'm trying to say. And okay, like for instance, somebody that your dad was telling us about, that they kept saying in school he wasn't good, he wasn't brilliant. The mom too was, but all of them did not realize he couldn't see the board.
Yeah.
He couldn't see the board. And if he didn't see the board, what does he know that was being written? Only what is said. And if he can't see, he can't read. So yeah, I just wanted to bring light to some of those things. So some telltale signs that they can look for, things that they can watch out for, that if you're wondering, what can I look up for? What are the kind of telltale signs that this child... But something, Faithful, even with all this list, I'm just thinking, these things can be there, but if the parents are not vigilant...
Honestly, that's exactly what I was going to say. It really all comes down to just knowing to your child. And that's why I said that I use the example of, if I feel that in my throat, but other people don't feel that either. So it's really and knowing what their 100% looks like and what that doesn't look like. And I don't know if you recall, but there was a time I told you about some tweets that I saw. And I think I'm not sure it was the mother or the father, but they had observed that their child just wasn't feeling and they insisted on taking their child out of school. And at first the school wanted to kind of fight it and be like no, but I know my child is not at their best, and continuing them being at school and I respected it so much, because there's that thing about, if you're, as much as some might think about the fact that yes, they're missing a couple of days of school, or might be for now, and then they're just going to be fine continuously for the rest of it. Okay, they're not doing well now, and then they continuously not do well, finishing school altogether. So yeah, sometimes there is those types of sacrifices to be done in order to protect and look out for their mental well-being, because as you described earlier, all of these factors, many different things that can impact our mental well-being. And I think it's really worth noting that adult, because the things that you mentioned already, I think impacts people as an adult. It feels as a child when you're still navigating life and you're still trying to make sense of things, or it's as a teenager or as a young adult, everything is still just a learning curve. As an adult, we still struggle with these things, and we get patients all the time struggling with these things. The young adult, how are they going to cope with that? So the bottom line, really, and grandma, to pay attention to your child and just know what's going on, and continuously have those conversations. So today, how are you feeling? Is everything okay? Is there anything you want to talk about? And make that routine. You never know what's going to come up, because there's one other thing that's really worth noting about a lot of these mental health difficulties. As much as there's typical symptoms to look out for, it still varies from person to person. High functioning depression, which is basically you're still going about all the things that you would usually do, but that doesn't mean you're not still experiencing the symptoms of low mood or depression. So, and that's why I said it is, what goes on in your own child, and be vigilant towards their behaviors and their usual routine. Because it might just look a little different in one child So being vigilant is probably the most important takeaway, I think, for all of this children, and knowing what is usual for them, and just create continuous dialogue as well, because there's also that point of you can be vigilant, but if conversations and if that dialogue, that open dialogue isn't there, then they may not necessarily be, which kind of puts you in a bit of a tight spot, because like I said, your GP is probably the best place to go to next, have that conversation. So if you can't get that open and honest conversation from your child, how do you proceed to take the necessary steps afterwards, if that makes sense? Because you are the legal guardian, you are the types of actions. But yeah, vigilance. I'll say it again and again and again. Like I said, I've spoken to parents that have gone through difficulties with their children. A lot of them do reflect that if I just paid a little more attention, if I just earlier on, I should have noticed it. And it's that thing that my mum always says about you just never want to find yourself in that position, because I've definitely heard some really challenging children and what they've gone through because of the decline in their mental well-being. So yeah, pay attention to them and know what's going on for them and have those conversations with them is really important. And I talked a lot. I would also say that the small things matter too. So even if it's like one day they're just not talking to a friend anymore.
Yeah, like we saw in that. Yeah, sorry, in that video, ITV video or advert, there are two things. I don't know whether people notice what was being said and what was written were two different things.
Different things, yes.
So this is what I'm saying, but what is written is what I mean. This is what I'm trying to let you understand, that I am here. And you will see again, they're emphasizing on communication. And Faithful, I think is still that fundamental thing that I'm saying. If you don't have a relationship with somebody, it will be very hard for them. You know that thing I'm always saying, know the friends of your children. Do you notice he knew the name of his daughter's friend? So do you know the names of your children's friends? Do you know where they live? Do you know anything about their family? Do you have that conversation? Do you understand? You're not intruding. You're showing interest in what matters to your children. So if they do break up, if they do have a fight, if something happened, you are an avenue of them coming to air their mind, speak freely, because they might not be able to talk to that person and they're feeling the pain. Because if you look at that advert, it says, yes, it's really hurting, so I used to, so she said, it's okay, but inside she's really hurting, and they're just reaching out. So yeah, that little things, like you said, knowing the name of your friends, having that communication.
It's definitely very crucial. And it probably goes like the teachers that they have, what subjects are they studying,
of course,
are they doing with those, all of them. One of them is important. And it's so funny because as we're talking as well, because you mentioned something about like if parents are emotionally negligent as well,
yes,
and that will have an impact on the child. And I speak to a patient where she described her parents as severely, she didn't go into details, I don't know exactly what it was that she's classing as that negligence, 40 now. And she was like, that's come up and really it's ugly, about how she's been forced to interact with the parents that she knew. And that has re-triggered a whole bunch of things. It's brought back a whole bunch of things that's gone now, because what I think happens to a lot of people as they grow up is, this is the stress that I've identified this as not being healthy for me. So when I get to the point where I can, but unfortunately she found herself in a position where she's had to rely on these same parents, into her mother at all. But the father that she's still interacting with, she described the interaction as weird, uncomfortable about it. So it's, you see that even though she described her child as, yes, emotionally negligent, she's gone on to marry, she's gone on to have her own children, but here she is, what's coming up now, and that's what I'm still having to deal with. And she also has mental health difficulties too, which maybe one could theorize that, again, it stemmed from emotional negligence that she feels she experienced as a child. So yeah, all of those things that you listed, things to be aware of and be vigilant about, especially the separation. As I heard, my mother left me as a child, my father left me as a child, and 50 is still, yes, my father left me as a child, and that's what's still impacting them. So vigilant about all of those things, and knowing that it will have an impact, much support as possible. And what I will say is as well, because just, yeah, to her grandma said, because these are not discussions we do have within our communities, there are available. So even if you're not going to your GP, there are, if you're just looking for, finding yourself being a single mother, and you really want to navigate that and making sure that your child is as possibly can be, I cannot describe the wealth of resources that into Google, and if you type that onto YouTube. So you're really, what I'm trying to say is, it's not that you have to deal with it alone as well, because what's happened is a lot of other people have gone through the same, understood that this is something that's naturally going to have an impact on my child. So yeah, how can I navigate, kind of soften the blow as much as possible? So yeah, the internet, if you're because there are definitely resources around. I still sent that to some patients recently, so I know this thing, you absolutely can use them. But yeah, I don't know if you want to talk about the rest of the comments.
Yeah, I want us to start rounding up, because I'm glad that we've had the opportunity to, like I said, we can't cover everything. There's this pressure, there's self-harm. We haven't even spoken about self-harm,
Yeah,
which is very dangerous, very
it is.
dangerous. You mentioned briefly about, suicidal thoughts, and sadly, people don't talk about this, but hopefully one day I'm going to do something on that one as well. The rate of young men, or men generally, committing suicide is very, very, very high, and nobody's talking about that.
Yeah.
Especially, within the ethnic minority community, where you've got to be strong. Men don't cry. You've got to do this. You've got to do that. But, suicidal thoughts is very high. Suicide is very high among men, among young men. Why? This is because mental health is real. Mental
Absolutely.
challenges, mental illness is real. It's not a stigma. If I have a headache, it's not a stigma. If I have breast cancer, it's not stigma. If I have depression, it's not stigma. If my children is got autism, it's not a stigma. If my children has dyslexia, it's not. It's all part of our well-being. Some of us, we're endowed with big backside, big boobs, and all these hips and all this kind of thing. There are surgeons. If I don't want my hips to be so big, they will help me to do it. If I want my bust to be bigger or smaller, I'll go to all these surgeons. They will do it for me. If my lips is too thin, I want them to pump it up. That's not a problem. It's not a stigma. So mental health is part of our well-being. And I'm praying that parents that are listening to you and I now and later will take this on board, will be vigilant. And the last bit I want us to talk about briefly before we bring it to an end is prayer and fasting. Can I pray and fast about it? And it will just go all away. I'm a Christian after all. We are Pentecostal. We speak in tongues. So, why do I need to come and see somebody like you when I can go and see my pastor, and we can just do deliverance, and we can just do prayer and fasting?
I think
maybe you should have thrown that question to me.
Oh yeah, maybe. But there's just, I have heard my dad say quite a few times, necessarily in light of just mental health difficulties. I think this was just generally, and it was that as pray and fast about whatever it is you're praying and fasting about. But he would also say that you're doing. So what action is also coming along with that was a lot of the times, for example, perfect example would be those that job seek. So we want to find a job, we want a different job, we want more pay, whatever it is. And if I just say regarding the job, that's fine. And in terms of mental health as well, I don't think there's any. Now, I think where the issue lies is if I'm seeking this job, but all I'm doing is fasting, lying for any jobs. I'm not looking for any jobs. How's the job going to find? Because we're not in, as far as I know, the job will not just fall in one's lap. And I is exactly the same. My mum and I were having a conversation earlier, and I've said the same thing numerous times. Sick. If you had cold now, if you had flu, you know exactly what you do. If a body that maybe a rash has developed somewhere, and you've never seen it before, never experienced it before, you will book an appointment with your GP. You're not going to sit there and fast and pray that it goes away. Are you doing something else alongside it? Because I've always argued we have this ability to fast and pray about things. We also, all of these other, I mentioned some resources earlier. We have the access to GPs. We have what we call primary care. I can't count how many times I've heard patients say, I took myself to A and things at our disposal as well. So why can we not use them when it comes to us being unwell? Because like I said earlier, I think my mom said the same thing. Mental health, they're one and the same. Sometimes I think it's almost a detriment when we have something that's also fueled the stigma around mental health and getting that support. Attitudes towards them should be exactly the same. If you're not well physically, you'll get that support. And I think we must absolutely understand is your mental and your physical well-being are, as in, like, one will not survive without the other, if I'm being quite frank.
That's right.
People often speak about being stressed. They'll be like, I feel so stressed. And then as a result, they start to be sick a lot more often. Maybe they start breaking out in cold sores more frequently. And have shown that when we are stressed, we are more prone to being sick. We had, and my mum, I don't know how long ago it was now, we talked about experiences, ACEs, because that was done by a doctor. She proceeded, and that's one of the things that was learned, that when children go through negative experience, shouldn't go through as a child, it literally impacts their physical health. A lot of serious health conditions, whether it's heart conditions or any other long-term health conditions. Health isn't well, it impacts our mental well-being, and when our mental works the other as well. And like I said, if we were to go to our GP, if we're going to go to the hospital, if we're going to get the medication from our pharmacist when it comes to our physical health, then I'd have the same attitude towards your mental well-being, especially because, like I said earlier, and I really cannot stress it enough, it's very unlikely that you will find yourself experiencing symptoms of depression, or it's not going to have an impact on your physical well-being. It's very like this, and because even when we conduct assessments to find out what's going on with patients, is this having any physical side effects? Is this having any physical symptoms? And you will hear, I'm not sleeping well at night. I've got a loss of appetite. I'm experiencing a lot of tension in my muscles. Those are all physical aspects, and that's just because all of a sudden mood, or they're spending a lot of time just worrying incessantly about things that don't really matter. All of a sudden, their bodies are starting to break down too and say, yes, something is wrong. Go to your GP, you're going to go to your pharmacist, if you're going to seek that professional help when you're worried about being, then please, by all means, please do that for yourselves regarding your mental well-being, your children. There's nothing wrong with fasting and prayer, but like I said, my dad always says it, what else are you doing alongside those things? So yeah, that's what I would say. I don't know if there's anything you said, maybe you should have been the one answering the question.
No, I mean, I think you've nailed it. The Bible is not against medication. We know some of the apostles were physicians, so we don't have any problem about anybody using any form of medication. So I'm an advocate. I've just given you an example. If you want to change a certain part of your body that you don't feel happy with, you go ahead and you do it. So, and your mental well-being is still part of your body. Still, your brain is part of your body. So,
Exactly.
by all means, go out and get help. And not everything is always like medicine is not something, a prescription. I think that's some of the reason people have stigma. I'm going to use something, it's going to have side effect on me and all those kind of things. Some of it is therapy. Some of it is individual or group therapies and things like that. It might just even entail you just having a more active life. Getting involved with people in the community, just being active, just going out will make somebody feel better. Even just getting some exercise, regular fresh air. So not everything is likely to be resolved with medication. I mean, even to be honest, even the Panadol that we use has side effects. It might not have side effect for you, but it has side effect for other people. We are not all the same. So please, I think it's a good place for us to stop here. Maybe another time, opportunity permits, we'll talk about it, especially like I said, in line of suicide and a lot of young men that are dying, having suicidal thoughts, and we think they're having the best time of their life. If they see everything seems to be going well, and then the next minute you're hearing that they actually took their own life. So mom and dad that you're hearing us now and later, and grandparents, aunties, uncles, youth leader, pastors, children ministry, anybody that is in charge of young people, especially if you are from the ethnic minority community, we are appealing to you. Mental health is a reality. We cannot pray it away. I say that with a lot of caution. You cannot pray it away. Certain things does not go without prayer and fasting, accepted. But at the same time, he has also given us physician. Didn't Jesus say those that are well have no need of a physician? So it's those that are sick that need physician. Exactly. So he's validating that physicians have their job to do even in the life of Christians or believers. So please, by all means, reach out. Your pastor is not your point of contact in this point. I'm sorry. Reach out, like Faithful said, reach out to your GP. Even the self-referral, if I'm not mistaken, you can do self-referral online. The only thing is I'm not sure with children, but obviously as parents,
I'm not sure with children.
Yeah, as parents,
you can self-refer.
you exactly. So things like that, please reach out to people. Reach out to people, please. Let's be our brother's keepers. Let's look around us in our community, in our church, in our family. Let's not just say, oh, they will outgrow it, they will overcome it. No, we don't want them being a patient on a therapist phone call, Zoom meeting. Do you get what I'm saying? Chair in 10 years time, because you failed to validate what they're going through right now. So if there's nothing else, Faithful, that you want to bring to the table, I think it's a very good place.
Mentioned it, yeah. I do agree it's a good place to start. I just wanted to say, because as well, people hear therapy, they think money. Within NHS England, you can access for free. So it's not that it's going to take
you
that money out of your pocket. Exactly. Support for your child, or whether it's you looking for that support yourself, because my mum did mention about the self-referral for your local IAPT services, that is IAPT, for free. So there may be some wait lists, I will be honest, because obviously it's a free service too. But just knowing that you can get therapy for free. You can also go private should you need to. You can Google that, find out what services are local to you, or some they will do it remotely. Yeah, whatever it is that you're looking for. But yeah, just so that you know that people might think, okay, if I need therapy, I've got to pay for it, and that's not the case if you are within. Just wanted to add that.
Okay, so everybody, I guess we've come to the end of today's broadcast, and I'm appealing to everybody, please, please, please do not joke with the mental well-being of your children. I was going to say you don't joke with everything else. Some people might. So, so let me just say, please do not joke with the mental health of your children. Please reach out, take the help. The help is there. It's not going to cost you a penny. And every child can be better and get better, and will continue the fasting and the prayer along the way as well, if you want to. Okay? So, Faithful, I'm saying thank you. We're closing together.
Thank you.
And everybody else, Grandma also said thank you to you as well for the enlightenment. So everybody from Faithful and myself, and today's World Mental Health Day, we say please take care of yourself, take care of your mental well-being, make yourself happy. If it's a cup of tea, if it's chocolate that makes you feel good, have it. Laughter, the Bible says, is medicinal to the heart. Watch a good movie, watch some comedy. You find loads of comedy on YouTube, on social media. Laughter, laugh, make yourself happy. Don't depend on people to make you happy. Make yourself happy, please. I'm begging you. And look after the well-being of your children. So, everybody, happy World Mental Health Day. Take care. God bless each and every one of you. And as always, I want to leave you in the most capable hands. As always, that I always leave everybody, which is the hand of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Have a wonderful day, morning or night, wherever you are, everybody. Take care. God bless you. And God willing, we'll see you again tomorrow. Until then, take care. We'll see you again tomorrow. Until then, take care.
Against me, they shall never prosper. Praying child, godly children, never defeated, always winning, for living in fear of God. Praying child, godly children, never defeated, always winning, we're living in fear of God. Like the holy plan, round about your table, children are the heritage of God. I am seeking the kingdom of God, 'cause I am a preacher. I got